Hello, everyone. I'll let everyone in early so I can assign the breakout rooms beforehand. How's everyone's week going? Oh my gosh, you're sore from the dentist? What are you doing at the dentist? Or did you get like a root canal or something? Yeah, my week has been so as well, for sure. Starting to feel the end of the semester pressure. I know, I feel like this semester and the year has gone by really fast, but I've been really busy personally, so maybe that's why. Okay, I set up this. It's 6 o'clock. Okay. Representatives, how many representatives today? Ben, Derek, and Gabriella. Oh, okay, they are here. All right, so welcome everyone. Let me go to the PowerPoint really quickly. So we're in week 3, and everyone's still coming in. Today, pretty simple schedule. We're going to listen to our In the News presentation, which I think is going to be pretty interesting. And then we'll go over the analyzing K-pop musically, the reading, and then the musical analysis. And we'll do the in-class group listening activity as well. So Ben, Derek, and Gabriella are going to present today. Who's going to share their screen?
I am, yeah.
Okay, Derek is. All right, let me make you a co-host. All right, you should be good to share screen once I stop sharing. Let me set my timer.
Yeah, so I think Ben's gonna start off. Ben, are you
Uh,
ready?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. So we're presenting about musicality, genre, and sound. So if you could go to the next slide for me, please. So really quickly, I just want to give like a quick like preface of like K-pop. So like we've discussed in the first week or so about what K-pop and where it originates from. So I'm just gonna keep it pretty like simple. So K-pop is just like it's a mainstream music that originated from South Korea. So it takes influence from a mixture of African American and Western sounds. But I say this, but what makes K-pop special is their main focus on choreography, especially their repetition of key movements, and they call this the Pointyu Anmu. I don't really know the pronunciation, but I think that's how it's pronounced. And also, what makes K-pop like special is they also use a lot of English phrases, the addition of English phrases. Like, so the latest K-pop groups like New Jeans, they incorporate English lyrics to make it like to appeal to like the global audience. So that's one of the things they do. And there's also a focus on the idols. All right, can you go to the next slide, please? So can K-pop be considered its own genre? So for me, I think K-pop is it's too broad to be considered a genre. So if we compare like let's say what the public thinks of K-pop artists. So if we compare like solo artists like IU and another artist like PSY, like they don't fall under the same category of K-pop because IU mainly sings like R&B music, R&B songs, and PSY sings like pop. So I think it's too far separated to fall under the category of K-pop itself. So I think K-pop generally is like music that comes from Korea, I'd say. And next are next are just the genres of like K-pop, what K-pop can be. So we have pop, rock, R&B, like Latin, so it's like reggaeton, Latin pop, and next is dance, electronic, and yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I'll be going into more of like the Latin genre of K-pop. So I've been a fan of K-pop for a couple of years now. The one genre or style of music I've noticed that is growing bigger in the world of K-pop are songs with strong Latin influence. Our reading in this class highlights this notion a little more, but I think globalization is an excellent term to fully capture this trend. Globalization is a term that is used to describe a product or service that is developed and distributed globally, but adjusted to accommodate consumers in a local market, as we have learned. So in an attempt to keep the popular momentum going, K-pop agencies will typically look towards genres of music that are not as utilized in the industry, but are in other industries around the globe, of course. So the obvious decision that these K-pop agencies have made is to produce music that draws from Latin rhythms, melodies, instruments, and sometimes lyrics. It really should come to no surprise that both of these industries are sort of colliding, since both Latin music and K-pop have seen a surge in popularity and have amassed large fan bases over the last couple of years. Later on, I will discuss more about how K-pop agencies have also been reaching out to Latin American artists to help them write songs for their idols or group. But I'm gonna talk about the musical characteristics before I do that. So next, yeah, I wanted to touch a little bit on what makes Latin music Latin. Perhaps the most defining aspect of Latin music is the rhythm. One rhythm in specific is called the clave rhythm and is characterized by a 3/2 clave pattern. So, oh goodness, I'm gonna totally butcher this, but I think it's gosh, hold on. It's one, no, okay. So let me do it like by clapping. It's and then like repeating. Anyway, sorry. um So yeah, another characteristic is the instrumentation of Latin music, which is another important aspect and relies heavily on the drums and occasionally an acoustic guitar. And lastly, of course, Latin music is typically sung in the Spanish language. So I wanted to talk about a couple examples of Latin influences in K-pop. Um, Both of these songs are relatively new, with the oldest of the two being released in 2018. But first we have Les Seraphim, which is a five-member girl group, and they released a song called Anti-Fragile in 2022, which is one of my favorite songs ever, and is loved for its use of reggaeton-infused beats. Their agency actually reached out to a Honduran singer-songwriter named Isabella Love Story to help write with the hook for this song. If you listen to it, you can also hear Isabella's backing vocals on the in the chorus when they're singing anti T T T fragile. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. Another example is Super Junior's Lo Siento, which means I'm sorry in Spanish, and it features Leslie Grace. This is a Latin pop song that is really unique because it is sung in three languages, so Korean, English, and Spanish. The Spanish parts are mostly sung by Leslie Grace, and the brother duo from Texas named Play and Skills was recruited for the production on this song. So yeah, on the right, the images on the right, there are two stills from the music videos of both songs, and on the top we have Les Seraphim's Anti-Fragile, and then on the bottom we have Lo Siento by Super Junior. But yeah, so next we'll have Gabriella talk.
Okay, and then I'll discuss the dance and electronic music within K-pop, which would mainly we're focusing on the K-pop girl group New Jeans, and which their new EP titled Get Up. Um, they also had a person, Erica D. Kasser. She wrote songs for them. She's a singer, songwriter. She is known for writing dance, electronic music, dance slash electronic music songs. She it's a K-pop agency recruited to write songs for New Jeans, which was a big deal for them because they were a girl group and they had a really big song being made. Erica D. Kasser is known for increasingly distinctive sound of unfussy, unheard, hurried, and Y2K music. Um, and then next slide. And then these are some examples of some of the songs that she wrote for New Jeans, which was called Super Shy, Cool with You, and New Jeans. New Jeans was a really big one that she was writing for them because it wasn't like her song that she was writing. She was writing it for New Jeans girl group. That would be it.
Yeah, that's the end of the presentation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, do we have any questions from the group? We'll start with that. So my question for all three of you is, why do you think recently why do you think these kinds of international collaborations or this kind of globalization of the music genres are happening right now? Like, why Latin music elements and why this kind of New Jean style? It's interesting you call it dance electronic, because to me it actually sounds more like lo-fi kind of inspired. Like a lot of their songs are very low key compared to some of the other songs. So I'm just kind of curious, do you think there's a particular reason in this moment in time that these are happening, or is it just kind of random?
Well, in my opinion, I don't know. I feel like New Jeans kind of sounds very similar to Pink Panthers, and Pink Panthers has gotten really popular, especially like on TikTok. I don't know, and like she also uses like UK garage elements, which is a subgenre of dance electronic music, but that's, discussion for another day. But yeah, I like personally, I think that kind of explains a little bit of the New Jeans, but so yeah, I don't know. That's my answer.
Yeah, TikTok is huge, right? And TikTok has really spread not just K-pop, but all sorts of music. And it's kind of been an accidental thing. I don't think that's what it was intended to do, but with the dance trends and everything like that, it's really helped groups like New Jeans. But yeah, I'm glad that I think these are two really good examples, New Jeans and then the Latin elements and songs of the like kind of shifting trends in K-pop itself. Because they really are different from like the K-pop that I was first into like in the early 2000s. New Jeans really their sound is pretty different, I think, especially. So we have a question from London. What other genres do you think might be able to be incorporated into K-pop that we haven't seen before? That's a good question. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have an answer to that. Really, I just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of listen to K-pop that, I don't know, I think yeah, going back to like New Jeans and even like Anti-Fragile, I think those are like the boldest, in my opinion, the boldest like releases, like as of recent because they sound very different. But yeah, I don't know if I have any particular genre on my mind that kind of yeah, that kind of answers that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's left.
Yeah, I know.
What's
That's kind of
left
like
to
the
be incorporated?
yeah, that's exactly like what I'm thinking
I mean,
right now.
I'm sure there is. I mean, I think there's a lot of more of kind of more quote unquote pre-modern or traditional type musics that are alive and well today that K-pop certainly hasn't started to incorporate. Many of you have been talking about traditional elements, and several of you pick songs for we're going to talk about that Korean traditional elements in K-pop, which is actually a very recent phenomenon uh as well. So I think it's who knows what's up, what is next. So all right, thank you very much. Oh, we have one last question, sorry, from Cheney. Do you think the current music styles, we have lots of questions now, current music styles developed along with do you think that the current music styles developed along with the current music trends, or that companies would personally seek out these genres? Sorry, what is it? Yeah, seek out these genres out to the market. Ooh, that's a good question. So who's the onus on? Who's the who's making this happen? The companies, or is it just following trends? Ben or Gabriella, do you have any ideas on that question? You don't have to have a right answer.
Yeah, I think it's like
Yeah, Ben.
following the current music trends, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Why
don't
do
think
you
I've heard
think?
like any like different like new and different type of like K-pop songs. It's like the same thing I've been hearing, kind of, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of like the trend gets popular and then the companies maybe pick up on it and try and reproduce it in K-pop or something. Yeah, and then Ali's question, with the shift of K-pop trends, will K-pop eventually become an umbrella term in consideration to newer trendy Korean music? That's a good question. I think that question goes along with our reading today. And I'm glad you started with defining K-pop because that's what we're going to talk about as well. So let's give a round of virtual applause to our group here. Thank you very much. This is a good way to do the presentation where you kind of, especially for today and next week's, today's about kind of musicality. Next week is about visuals. So there might not be exactly a specific controversy to cover or that's being covered in the news or a particular story that's being covered, but rather more of like a trend. So if you want to do it this way, that's totally fine as well. So thank you all very much. Let me give my applause as well. All right. So let me share, go back to sharing. All right. So chapter 2, methods for understanding the music and visuals of K-pop, analyzing K-pop musically. So we started talking about this. Our reading by Jungmin Mina Lee started with this question: what is K-pop? So after hearing our peers' presentation and the reading, what do you think? What is K-pop? How would you explain K-pop to someone or define it? So Lee is professor. Actually, she's not a professor. She's just an instructor at Duke University. She also has a background in music administration. So she's not just a scholar, but she's also like active in the music industry doing things. But she does do research and teach about modern Korean music. And she has her PhD in musicology. Musicology is kind of more like the study of music from, it can be from a more cultural perspective, also music theory perspective. It's not so much about performing music and learning an instrument, but more focused on the broader aspects of music. And she's also a pianist as well. So what do we think? What is K-pop? Well, she gives us, okay, good, here we go. Yes, a production style. Is it a genre or is it an industry? Yeah. Is it a genre or an industry? It's a production style, for sure. What else? A market. Ooh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's its own market, right? And so anything that is kind of feeding into that market maybe is K-pop. I like that idea. That's interesting. I don't think I've read that before. So we have a couple. You can keep putting your answers in while I'm talking as well, but I just try and keep it moving. So one of the first definitions where the term K-pop comes from is it comes from Chinese and Japanese, actually. That's what they just called South Korean popular music from South Korea that was becoming popular in China and Japan in the late 1990s, particularly. So that's where the term itself comes from, but that doesn't exactly help us understand it today, right? So Billboard, which is the big company, global company that rates music, right? Rates popular music, particularly, keeps it as a category. So it's kind of like pop, hip hop, country, especially it's interested, or it's similar to, and I didn't put this in here, those quote unquote ethnic categories or linguistic language categories of music, like Latin music, or also J-pop, Japanese music. If you like Franco pop, I like French pop as well. Franco pop is its own quote unquote category that encompasses a lot of different things. So K-pop kind of functions that way in some ways. But the important thing is that K-pop doesn't encompass, or it doesn't indicate all the popular music that's popular in Korea. So there's definitely a discrepancy between what music is popular in Korea that is in the Korean language and what's popular outside of Korea. You may or may not, when you go to Korea, you might start talking about someone who you think of as a K-pop idol. And generally speaking, Korean people themselves aren't going to know who that is. That tends to happen. Also, the songs that get popular in Korea, they're often different from what gets popular outside of Korea. But they're both Korean music, but there's just kind of a difference between them. Mode of production, right? So we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but it's the way that the music is created, the idols are trained, and the way that it's distributed and marketed. That is what defines K-pop. People nowadays, scholars are very, a lot of people are in agreement that that's kind of how to define K-pop the best way. You can have your own opinion, but that's what you'll see a lot of the time. But this is the question: is K-pop a genre of music? What do you think? Is it a genre? Simple, yes or no? And why? What is a genre of music then? What makes it a genre? What does a genre mean? Genre. We throw this term around a lot in English. It's a French word originally. But I don't really know. How do you define genre itself? Good. Yeah. So Nada here. Style. When we're thinking about style, so style is kind of like, we're talking about music. Style is kind of like the way it sounds, right? It has a particular way that it sounds. So if you think about something like country, in your mind, probably a particular sound comes to you. Like, yes, this is country. I know what that is, right? It sounds like this. But the weird thing is, I think with K-pop, it does have a certain style that may not qualify for all things that are considered K-pop, but definitely for a lot of things. Like I just had this happen to me actually. So my husband was listening to a song by this newer group called 50/50. Have you heard of them? They have a song on the Barbie soundtrack, the Barbie movie soundtrack. So their song is called Cupid, or is this somebody help me. It's called Cupid, something about Cupid. Is it just called Cupid? Yeah. He was playing this song. My husband was playing this song in the car. It was in English. I'd never heard it before. And I look at him, I say, why is this K-pop song in English? I knew that it sounded like a K-pop song. To me, it sounded like K-pop. And he said, how did you know it was K-pop without it being in Korean? And I was like, it was a K-pop, it's a Korean group. And I was like, I don't know, it just sounds like it. Has anyone ever had that happen to them before? Like that was kind of my first time that I'd heard something and I was like, oh, that's K-pop. But it wasn't in Korean or anything. I could just tell by the way that it sounded. Yeah, exactly. So for those of us who are pretty avid listeners, we know that there is a particular K-pop sound that exists. So that's why this question continues to come up, and scholars and people who really study, and even fans themselves, right? We kind of argue about it. We like to talk about it because it's very ambiguous. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, umbrella term. That's a lot of you said that too in your posts from Ayana, an umbrella term. Yeah, K-pop is kind of an umbrella term. It can be a genre. It can kind of be all of these things at once. And that's what kind of is bothersome to some people about it. Great. So let's go over the history a little bit just to review the reading here. So spread of K culture. So K culture is relatively recent. It's all a part of this thing called the Korean wave, which in Korean is called Hallyu. So it's the combination of Han, which means Korean, and Ryu, which means, or Yu, which means wave. And when you put those two Chinese characters together, it sounds Hallyu, like that in Korean. And it just refers to the spread of this idea of Korean culture outside of South Korea, particularly. So Lee suggests that there's two goals of K-pop since the late 1990s. So after Seotaeji, so we talked about Seotaeji last week. So this week we're talking more about after Seotaeji. So those two are appeal to global audiences, but also satisfy domestic audiences. So there's these two audiences that the K-pop industry is interested in, and they're domestic, so Korean people, Korean listeners, and outside of Korea, so global, right? And to explain how these two goals have kind of ebbed and flowed, much like a wave, the Korean wave, over time, Lee gives us three phases of the Korean wave. And there's probably more than that. Many of you started talking about that in your blogs, which I loved. We might be in a fourth phase. There might actually be four phases and we're in a fifth phase. A lot of people debate about this, but this is just Lee's history of the Korean wave. And so we're going to talk about each of these, and particularly we're going to focus on phase 2 today, which is what we're doing our listening activity with. So phase 1, oh, I thought I had animated this. So the qualities of phase 1, so this is kind of after Seotaeji, we start getting these groups form in the late 1990s. And much like Seotaeji and boys, also Hyun, Jin Young, and Wawa. It's very idol driven. So it's very focused on the artists themselves. The music is important, but the image of the idol is very important. And so we start to get groups also like HOT. And many of you listened to this song last week. We don't have time to listen to it together this week, but if you have time, go back, listen to this song. This is considered actually one of the first K-pop idol groups in Korea. And they were from SM Entertainment, which is like Hyun, Jin-young, and Wawa. They were from SM Entertainment. They were also the first group to actually have a global following. They were popular for a little while in the early 2000s in China first, and then eventually in Japan as well. So watch them. It's a pretty good example of an early K-pop idol group. And of course, as we talked about last week, there's this genre mixing that's going on, and it's very focused on that new dance, that dance music. But what's important is that we're seeking out this global audience. It develops what is called a cultural technology. Now, a lot of you, I think, were confused about this. So in Korean, the word for technology and the word for technique are the same. It's 기술. And so Lee translates this as cultural technology, but it's not technology like you're thinking about computers and electronics and digital music. That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about that mode of production that is specific to K-pop. And what they do is specifically train idols to be able to appeal to global audiences. So they train them in foreign languages, and they train them to be able to learn about other cultures. And then the music that they give to these idols to perform, they can change it into different languages, they can localize it, and make it appeal to audiences, to very specific audiences. And so first that was focused a lot on East and Southeast Asia. So China, Japan, and then areas in Southeast Asia like the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand. I can go on and on. I won't name all the Southeast Asian countries, but that's where K-pop, or as a global phenomenon, really starts, is in East and Southeast Asia. Okay. So do we understand cultural technology? Because this is going to come up again. I saw a lot of people on the blog say, yes, technology was important. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about technology in that way, but more about this mode of production. You can give me a simple yes or no. Does that make sense, what this is? Yeah. So definitely go back, read that quote. Did you read that quote from Lee Soo-man? In the reading, he explains it really simply, actually. It makes a lot of sense what they're doing here. Yeah. So remember that. That's going to come up. That's going to come up again. All right. So, and here's an example. Boa is an example of one of these early Korean idols. She's actually a solo artist, not a group artist. She's not in a group, who had that kind of global recognition, right? And so what we did for the blog today was we listened to the Korean and Japanese versions of the same song, right? So what was different? Just really quickly, we'll just go back to the blogs. A lot of you picked up on the main difference here. What do you think? Just to review. Yeah, exactly. I think, keep the answers coming in even as I'm talking here. The lyrics. The big thing is the lyrics, right? Yeah. Obviously, they had to translate the lyrics from Korean with English to Japanese with English. I actually kept in one Korean thing, which we'll see in a moment. And so because of that, the meaning changed at least a little bit. As a group, our class didn't really agree how big the change was, but we definitely agreed there was a difference in the meanings, right? Yeah. So that's what I put too. That's kind of the most basic thing, is because of that, the lyrics really changed the meaning of the song. I also put that I thought it was interesting they included, now you weren't supposed to analyze the music video. We're going to do that next week, but it is important to see that for the sound, that the sound sets us up for the music. In the Korean music video, with her talking, right? She has that whole section of her kind of just talking about, she's just talking about stuff that she likes and her family and being an artist and things like that. And then what's the big similarity? It's not necessarily completely the same. Some of us found differences still within this. But there's a really easy similarity. The hook. Yes, the hook is the same. Very good. Yeah, so the hook though. Peace be is my ID. I can't even remember what it is now. So that's the hook. We'll confirm what a hook is in a bit. But yeah, that stays the same. But yeah, generally speaking, the songs say the actual music itself, the structure stays the same, the instrumentization stays the same. Choreo, yeah, the choreo is probably similar. There might be some differences. I didn't ask you to focus on the choreo, but yeah, instrumentation and the melodic line really stays the same, right? So why do you think the lyrics changed? We had a lot of different ideas going on here. But a few people actually had it. I think a few people actually had it correct. What was some of our ideas? So let me write down. I wrote down who I think really had it correct here. Keely, you had the right idea. Owen, I think you had the right idea about the lyrics here. Someone else did too. Oh, Jiahui did too. Why is the meaning changed? None. Oh, yes, none. You also had it. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Good. So a lot of us were saying, and it's totally fine that you thought that, cultural differences between Korean and Japanese. So when you translate words or meaning from one language into another, you end up with different amounts of syllables, right? So you can't exactly, so when you're trying to match lyrics to a melodic line or rhythm, you match it by syllables, right? So you can't necessarily translate something word for word into another language and then match it to the same melodic line if you want to keep the melody the same. So for that reason, they actually kind of have to take the meaning and tweak it a little bit so that they can fit some kind of Japanese lyrics that maybe are resembling the Korean to that same rhythm of the melodic line. Does that make sense? So because they have to do that, what we end up with is our two sets of lyrics that are similar, but just different enough that the meaning kind of has a different nuance. Does that make sense? So it doesn't really necessarily have to do with cultural differences. I mean, sometimes it might. In this case, not really. I don't think so. It's more just about the fact that, oh, we can't say that in the same amount of syllables in Japanese as we can Korean. Therefore, we have to tweak it a bit, right? So that's kind of why that happens. All right. So now let's get to phase 2 here. So this is where we have the 3 main K-pop companies come in. So we have SM, which is Isuman, who we've read about, JYP, who is J Park. He's huge. He's still huge. I think he has like he still makes songs and music sometimes too, but he's the CEO of this company, the main director, producer. And that's what Wonder Girls is under. And YG. YG is from Yang Hyun-suk, who was actually one of the boys or the kids of Seo He has his own music K-pop company now, and he produces groups like Blackpink, Big Bang, to anyone who will listen to today. Cultural odorlessness. So what becomes interesting about this is there's this idea during the late 2000s, early 2010s that K-pop tries to seem as un-Korean as possible. You can agree with that. You can disagree with that. I actually disagree with that. But there's this theory that the reason it starts to take more popularity, particularly in Europe and North America and South America during this time, is because can be read more Western. It appears more Western. There's also a lot more English during the time as well, during this time. And we get the hook-driven music, right? So Wonder Girls, the hook is that repeated part in the music that you hear over and over again, that it makes you catch and hold on to that song. It's what you sing later, right? And so the music becomes very focused on that aspect of the hook, right? So it's a little bit different, like Boa, ID, Peace Be. Yeah, there's that English hook there. Peace Be is my ID, but it's not as prominent in the music itself, right? And then genre mixing. This is particularly like in the later 2010s, I would say, maybe like 2014. Girls' Generation's I Got a Boy is like an extreme example of this, but they mix the verses and choruses up into different genres. So if you listen to this song, you're going to hear like a rock, you're going to hear like a breakdown, you're going to hear like a dance, electronic pop. You're going to hear all these different genres that occur in the song. And yeah, as I said, most important thing is expansion outside of Asia, particularly in Europe and North America. This is when a lot of groups started having global tours that went to Europe and North America and South America as well. Africa, oh, and Australia, I should say as well, and Australia. Africa still not as much so. Middle East a little bit more nowadays as well, and South Asia first, definitely South Asia as well. All right. So before we do the group activity, let's go over this really quick. Orchestral listening. Did you find this idea helpful, redundant, not really helpful at all? I'm curious. I want to know so I can kind of improve this as we're going along. So orchestral listening is simply trying to go beyond just the singing part, the melody, and getting into the layers, the different instruments that are going on, the different parts, the musical lines that are in the song itself. So in the video, so he is a musicologist, 12 Tone is, he's writing out music and talking about all these things. You don't need to do that by any means at all. I don't expect that. And I'm a classically trained musician, and even I can't even do it to the extent that he's able to do it. But what you want to focus more on is simply the idea of going beyond the melody here and being able to try to put effort into trying to describe the music that is going on behind the melody, at least a little bit, okay? So does orchestral listening make sense? So please get out, also, you should get out now the music video analysis worksheet, because we're going to review it really quickly. Yes, helpful, maybe. Hopefully the worksheet's a little bit more helpful. Okay, good. Just don't get caught up in all the like music notation and like that kind of thing. That's not what we're doing. We're not worried about the really hardcore music stuff. All right, so the music video analysis worksheet. So let me go over these terms really quick. Instrumentation. So that just refers to what instruments are you hear in the song. And then there are registers. So there's like high, middle, low, and even bass, right? So, thinking about where they are in the song, are they, kind of the high pitched instrument or the lower pitched instrument? That helps you kind of splice together the different instruments that you can hear. The tempo, so how fast the music is, it can range. You can have different interpretations of how fast or slow it is. So the meter or the rhythm. So this is really hard for some people, but what you want to listen to is, or what you want to try and do is clap to the music. So what I suggest is you listen and you try and clap, and then try and divide your claps evenly. During the in-group session, your in-group activity, I'm going to go around and we'll try and practice this a little bit with each group. But yeah, listen for the downbeat. So that's usually that hard, you'll hear a hard like drum beat or bass beat. And that's the one count. And it's like 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. It's usually 3 or 4. Most pop songs are in 4. So that kind of helps you, but sometimes you'll hear things that are in weird meters. The form. So that was the second video, right? So is it verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, which is the standard, right? Or is there an introduction? Is there an interlude? An interlude is like that instrumental section between choruses or between a verse and a chorus, something like that. Is there an outro, which is usually after the last chorus, that kind of goes on? The hook or the riff. So the riff is the instrumental catchy part. Hook is to vocals what riff is to instruments. So that catchy part in the music, that catchy part in the vocals, that's a hook or a riff respectively. And genre, style, we already just talked about this, and there's a list in the worksheet for you to work through. What different styles can you hear? What different genres can you hear? How does it sound? What different kinds of sounds do you hear? And then if you happen to recognize samples from other songs, or if it reminds you of another song that you know, make note of that as well. One person did that for their blog, and I thought it was actually pretty interesting that they did that. So, definitely pay attention to that, especially in K-pop. They take directly from other songs a lot of the time. Okay, are there any questions about the worksheet, how to use it, any of these musical terms? I hope that it's straightforward. I'm going to be going around in your groups. If you have questions, ask with your groups to help you. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. All right, so let me, where'd the breakout room? Go back to the breakout rooms here. All right, bear with me here. I have to sort the breakout rooms. So, Haley and Anna. And two, Nada. London, do you have a preference for which group you're in? I didn't ask anyone else their preference, but oh,
I'll do.
preferably a
Uh,
song you know already, maybe.
can I do Big Bang?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. Thank
And
you.
Hannah, do you want to be in a group or do you just want to sit this out?
I can just sit this out.
Okay. All right. Sorry, everyone. This takes a while. Let's see. Isabel and Nick. Wait. Is Nick here? No, I don't think Nick is here. Okay. All right. I'm going to be sending everybody and I will be around. We have about like 20 minutes. Let's do 20 minutes. I don't think Nick is here. I didn't even explain what you're doing. Okay, so what are we three up to? We seem really quiet.
Um, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the worksheet. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the worksheet right now.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay, I think I got it.
So did you listen to this song prior?
Yes.
Okay. This song was really big deal when it really like 10 years ago. She mentions it in the reading as well. So what are some things that you noticed about the music in this one, in this song? Brown Eyed Girls.
give me
Um,
1 second. I'm still trying to find. It's in the. You said the weekly. Um.
Should be under the module too for you to download.
Okay. Modules. Okay.
Or under the music video analysis term paper module, you can download the music video analysis worksheet.
Okay. I got it. I got it.
See that? Yeah.
Okay. And then that music video is also linked to.
Yes. Well, it's in the watch and listen list.
Okay. Okay, let me download this.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go around and check on the other groups. Try and get a little bit of a conversation going.
okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. All right. Are we listening to the song?
Yeah, doing that right now.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out the form of the song.
Yeah. Form can be kind of complicated, but I often suggest you just kind of stick with what you know is the standard and don't try and like overcomplicate it from there. Like I think this song has a pretty I think most of these songs just happen to have pretty easy forms. Fantastic Baby not as much, but
Stupid question. The hook on things, are they part of the chorus?
so usually they are, yeah, the part of the chorus, right? So with this song, if you listen to it, what do you think is that catchy part that you hear over and over again? That's what you end up singing later.
That'd be the ring dingy dingy dong.
Yeah, exactly. That ring ding dong, that part. That's the hook. Does that make sense? Which is basically part of the chorus, which is part of the chorus, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep listening and trying to fill out some stuff. Here we go.
It goes like it's like chorus verse. I don't know what that is. That's it was like a chorus verse or like uh, um
Hey, are you all trying to figure out the form?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just told this to the other group too. You can sometimes psych yourself out about the structure. So what I usually say is just start with the basic one, right? Which is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And try not to deviate your interpretation of it too much from there. So for example, within one verse, you might have multiple idols who have different parts, but it's still just one verse. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen to like the melodic line, and if the melodic line seems consistent, it's probably the same verse, if that makes sense. But it can also be up to your interpretation a little bit. What's the
Wait,
hook?
so if two different idols sing a verse, does it just count as one verse?
Uh-huh.
Yes, it can. And usually it does. Usually you'll see in the verse, one idol will start the verse and then another idol will end the verse, right? But then when the verse comes back, when it's a new verse after the first chorus, it'll be different idols singing, but the same melodic line or similar melodic line as the first verse.
Yeah, because like later, like I'm sorry, I'm like looking at the lyrics also.
Yes, looking at
Like
the lyrics
later
is
on,
great.
yeah, because like later on you have like one of the members, Jowook, literally sings the first two lines and then it goes to Sungmin and then Jowook and then Sungmin. So like they kind of break up one verse into like four sections, but they kind of just go like back to back. So like A B and like singing the verse and then it goes straight to the chorus.
Exactly. Yeah. So see how, especially in a large group like Super Junior, like they'll split the verses up with give each
Mhm.
idol just like one phrase in the verse to sing or one sentence in the verse to sing like that. Um,
I do have a
another,
question though.
oh, what?
Sorry. I was just wondering because like I'm confused on like with sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So it has like the chorus, right? But then it has like that part where they go like do like the dun dun duns. And I'm not for sure if that would be considered part of the chorus or if that's like something totally different.
So do you mean the like decka 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 sorry decka decka I should have listened to this song again before. I can't quite remember it.
Uh, it's
Or
like
is
the
it a
dun
different
dun
thing?
dun 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 that
Oh,
part.
hmm.
Like, is that part of the chorus or is that
That's
like the hook or something?
that's a riff. That's a riff,
Oh, okay.
right? And so that's that instrumental part that repeats throughout the song and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of gets stuck in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually that's why I have hook slash riff, because usually you'll have a hook, which is vocal, and you'll have a riff, which is instrumental like that, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you can count it as part of the chorus, or you can count it as kind of like an interlude or like an introduction to the song, like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So then what's the hook in the song? Nina, what do you think the hook is in this song?
Um, hang on. I've listened to this so many times, but I still have to look it up.
You don't have to be perfect. You could just kind of mimic it a little bit.
Hook is not, that's not like the what do you call? Not the middle part, but like the part towards the end before it breaks out in chorus.
Hook is the catchy part. It's that catchy part that sticks with you. It gets repeated over and over again in the song.
Then I would say either that dun 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 thing that she was talking about
Yeah.
before, or when they do that hey girl girl girl. It's like in the
Mhm. Yeah,
second verse.
maybe
I'm
those are
not really
kind of like
sure.
hooks. What about the part that's where the namesake of the song is?
With
Sorry, sorry,
the sorry,
sorry, sorry. That part, right?
Oh yeah, or the when did they say when they say shawty, like after they say sorry a couple
Okay.
before it.
Yeah, that might be like part of the hook. Yeah, so don't overthink the hook. Don't overthink the hook. Usually in K-pop especially, it'll usually be the name of the song, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. Do you have any more questions? I gotta move to another group.
I'm good.
Ben, do you have any questions?
Oh yeah, it's the part where they say "Let's dance." Is that part of the bridge?
Um, it might be. I should have looked these lyrics up really quick. Hold on.
I think it is because after that there's kind of like this electronic kind of style part that goes to it, and I think that's the bridge.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I'm
it's the bridge.
remembering it. Yeah. Digga digga dance, right? Yeah. Intro. Where they say let's dance or just
Yeah.
the dance part?
Oh,
I
they
think
say
that's
"Let's dance" and they just repeat "dance." Let's dance, dance.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like towards the end of the song.
Well, I think they do it at the beginning too. Yeah, that's kind of like oh, I see it. Yeah. Okay. They call this in the lyrics, they call it a breakdown. I call it part of the bridge. I think you're right, part of the bridge. You could call it an interlude in a way. Kind of up to you. I think it functions more like as part of the bridge, though. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind of
Yeah.
becomes between the second and the last choruses, right?
Mhm.
All right, good. So I'm gonna move on. Oh, let me assign her. So thank you.
Time.
Yeah, I think like the keyboard sound is like, if correct, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's called an arpeggio when it's kind of like going in like steps up and down. I don't know. I think that's kind of, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it does.
I have no idea.
Up
the
and
bum
down.
bum 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 bum, and it kind of keeps going back and forth.
It
I
may
think.
be the drum though. Maybe the low
Oh,
sound of
yeah.
the drum.
Um. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
we're doing the hard part. We're working on the hard part first, aren't we?
the description, yeah, the description is kind of
Instruments are the hardest part. I think
okay.
are the hardest part. There's no way you're ever gonna know for sure what instruments you hear in a digital pop song.
Yeah.
So you know, just do your best to try and explain what it is. If you don't know what it is, you could just say it sounds like something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
when it goes like da 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 like that, that is an arpeggio is what that's called in music. You don't need
Oh,
to
sweet.
you don't need to know that, but it is an arpeggio.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Um.
So do you
let's-
have any questions about any of this? Does anyone have questions?
Mm,
Oh, you have a
uh.
lot of stuff done actually. Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of have like a little bit of it. Yeah. We've kind of just been jumping around, really. But
Yeah.
I don't really have any questions right now as of right now. But do you both have any? Or
Not really.
For
Okay.
the
yeah.
description and reasoning poll, I'm not sure if you put like one of the two or you should do both of them.
So basically that's for you to try and like put your idea about, for example, the high register into like a sentence or two. Something, so for example, why do you think it's so? For example, for the instruments, you might want to describe. It's kind of more like and or. For the instruments, you might want to describe them, but for like when you're selecting what styles you hear, you might want to give a reason why you think it's that style or that genre. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, you can kind of do with this worksheet whatever you feel is most helpful. You're never going to have to turn this worksheet in, but especially when you're working on your own song for your own paper, taking notes like this will really help you to actually write the paper about it. And it's kind of the point. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
All right, good. Well, you're my problem-free group. So I'm gonna move to room 5 then.
Sweet. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Logan.
Hello.
Hello.
We are
What are you working on?
struggling a
What are
little
we
bit.
struggling with?
It's just like we're like we can't share our screens with each other, so we can't just like stop and like talk about certain things. So we're just like kind of going through everything and just like
Oh,
yeah.
no one else brought that up here. Well, we have like not too much time here.
Yeah, but that would be that and then
Okay, next week I'll make sure everyone can do that. Next week I'll make
Okay.
sure everyone. I'm so
Cool.
sorry about that. No one else brought that. I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, we've been listening to the song we got it playing.
Yeah, I've
Oh, there you
just been playing it on here, but we can't like see the visuals, so we just have to like look at our own.
Well, next week you'll definitely need to see the visuals, but this week maybe
Yeah.
just so you can hear it.
Okay.
So what have you kind of been talking about at all?
So, we talked about how the meter rhythm was 4 because it's nega che cha ga, which is 4.
Yes. This song has a really strong 1,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
The tempo was like moderate. It wasn't like extremely fast, but it wasn't like extremely slow, but it like it was like at first I was like because of like the visuals of the video specifically though, like that's what made me feel like the whole video went fast or like the music was fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about tempo is a lot of people will say, oh, it's a fast song. But then when you actually start trying to count it out, you realize, well, it's actually not like inherently that fast.
Yeah, no,
It
it's
kind
like
of sounds that
yeah.
fast, right?
And
it's not like it's 1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah, it's crazy.
it's
And then
it's very steady, moderate. I think that's a great way to put it, moderate.
yeah. And then I noticed how the hook basically, the nega che chalagat, sounds very similar to Gangnam Style.
Oh.
Like the beat is
background sound.
and they came out before Gangnam Style, which was like I thought about it and I was like, that sounds kind of familiar. And I was like listening, I was like, oh.
That might not be an accident. They might have reused something for Psy Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
Right,
from
because they're
this.
from the same company, so
Yeah.
They are the same company, exactly.
similar people.
Now
making-
he has his own company, but back then he would
Oh yeah,
definitely be
Psy is his own thing now, yeah.
Not anymore.
Psy Nation.
Psy Nation.
And then we said the genre was rap, hip hop, and EDM.
Yeah, I definitely think it is definitely rap and there's always going to be hip hop, rap and hip hop, EDM. This is a very EDM kind of music.
Yeah, it's
We're
very
trying to be EDM.
Yeah, very futuristic, like the concept.
Isabella, what were you gonna say?
No, I mean, she got everything that I was saying.
Have you tried to map out the form, the structure of the song?
We were working on that.
Yeah.
That's what we were struggling, I guess.
Yeah, we were working on figuring out like let me see. Hold on. It's gosh, why don't you work with me? it's not working with me. But basically, when they're doing the Nega Che Chalaga, they do like the ba 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 ba, that part. So would that be considered where is it? That be considered an interlude or no. Would that be considered a bridge or a chorus?
So
If
it's the
the
hook. I tend to identify the hook with the chorus,
okay, because I
right?
didn't
Did we
know
pick up
if
on the
this
fact you said, I think Aaron, you said, oh, the hook is Negatea Talaga, right? Which is kind of
yeah, I know
obvious.
that, but like is the part like when they do it in between, is that like an interlude or is that just connected to the hook?
I would say it's part of the chorus. Or
It's part
you
of the chorus. Okay.
yeah, or you can just say it's the hook.
Okay.
What I've been telling the other groups is I would stick with the basic verse, chorus, bridge, chorus form.
Okay.
Most songs have that form,
Mm-hmm.
but then they just kind of add a little bit of this thing in between them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't try and overthink it, is what
Okay.
I'm saying. So identify those parts with one or the other, a verse or a chorus.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't need to be, like someone who does music for a living can go through and write down every single little part. You don't need to be able to do that. Really, just
Okay.
to be able to identify verse, chorus, bridge, and a hook. That's really the big
Okay.
things that will help
Okay.
you, particularly for
Okay.
the paper. All right. Any more questions?
I think I'm good at least, Isabella. What about you?
I mean, yeah, that was what we were struggling on.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Hello.
Hello. How are we
Hi.
doing?
We had like mostly wrapped up at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're the big group. You ended up the big group, so. Do you have any questions?
Sorry.
Um,
We
Or
ahead, Lynn.
individuals. Do any individuals have questions as well?
I think we as a group were kind of confused about the form of the song.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we haven't nailed that one down. Like what would you consider
So
a verse to be? Like, because would you consider a verse to be like one member at a time or like the whole section that's not a
the
chorus?
yeah, so here this is everyone has had the same question for me. So the verse, don't think about members who are singing. Okay, so what I say is think about verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. That's the main form, right? Don't try and overcomplicate it from there. So for the verse, think about the melodic line, not who sings what when or how many members sing. Because usually within a verse and within a chorus, multiple members, if there's multiple members of the group, are going to sing different sentences or phrases in that verse or in that chorus. So don't think about it along that line. Listen to the melody and listen for that consistency and then the repetition. Chorus is easy. The verses, the lyrics are going to be different, but the melody is going to be very similar between the two, even if different members sing different sentences. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's hard. So don't try and overcomplicate it. Kind of stick with that form. But good question. Any other questions?
I think that was the
Good.
only real question we had.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. We're gonna wrap up in just a moment here. You're my last group. I'm gonna go back to and then Ben got. All right. Let me go back in here. Is everybody back? Almost everybody's back. Can you hear me? All right. So we'll just skip this really quickly. So don't forget about phase 3. I have a slide here about phase 3. You can look at it for your exit quiz. Remember to review this, but I think everyone understood this pretty well. All right. So after class assignments, so you have your exit quiz is due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. I suggest starting to draft now that we've practiced the musical analysis. You can start to draft your paper a little bit. Use the worksheet, do what you just did in your groups for your song for your final paper. So if you look at the schedule for the music video analysis paper, this is week 3. So you should actually start focusing on, well, number one, everyone should have got my feedback. If you need to go, you can go. Focusing on kind of a historical background about the song, a little bit of just basic information about the music video or the idol group, and look for like some kind of news sources about them, their official website, things like that. And you'll want to write like maybe a 200-word like kind of historical synopsis background about the group. That's what you should work on this week. And you can start working on as well the actual musical analysis. So this is in the term paper document with the instructions. So you can look at this, what you should be doing. Okay. But otherwise, oh, and let me say as well, so we have a meeting on Thanksgiving break. I know that sucks. I think it sucks too. It's not my decision. November 22nd at 6:00 p.m. Which is the day before Thanksgiving. If you're going to be absent, just let me know. But you really should come to it anyways. Do your best to try to. So that's your reminder. All right. Thank you, everyone. You are dismissed. Thank you for bearing with me.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
For that meeting over